So welcome all to our team call. I'm sure people will be joining us late, but we want to respect our guest time and get started on time. So I want to welcome tonight my friend, Michelle Hillaert, who is also a member of the DC Council, which I serve on. And Michelle is a great speaker. She's a Star Diamond coach. She is an author, right? Your book's coming out in March, I believe.
March 4th.
What's the title of it?
It's called Let Go of the Fear. I actually we have our final mock-up image of it. So you guys are going to be the first to see it tonight. I'm going to show it to you.
Okay, awesome. So you'll tell us more about it. So yeah, she's an author on fear. Her team is Team Fearless. That's kind of her motto. She has overcome a lot of fears. So I asked her to speak on that topic tonight. So I'm sure we all face fears that hold us back in this business or in life. So I'm sure we'll all get a lot out of it. So go ahead, Michelle.
Thank you. So first of all, everyone, real quick, get your phone out. We always forget to take a selfie of this call. Take a selfie of the call, and afterwards, don't forget to post it and talk about how awesome your experience with your team was. It's going to be perfect.
Cool.
So first of all, guys, you guys have an amazing leader in Greg. I have reached out to him on several occasions. I have never met anyone who is more organized and more reliable. I used to work in the IT industry, and I've told Greg before, I was like, man, I would love to have had you as a manager, because he cares and he gets it done. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for letting me join you on your call. So I did prepare a PowerPoint presentation, so I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so this is the mock-up, almost done cover of my book called Let Go of the Fear. It's powerful stories and lessons on how to live a bold and fearless life. And as I was telling Greg, throughout my PowerPoint presentation, I have different questions, and I would like for you, or if you'd like, I'd like you to write it down, the questions that when we come up to them, because after the call, and when you have some time to work on your personal development and really think through stuff, then I want you to take some time and really answer those questions, because letting go of fear is a journey. I was talking to Mike through chat earlier, Mike Lamb, and I was saying, I gotta warn you, I'm gonna get a little deep tonight. And that's because I have gone from being one of the most afraid people I know, living my life in fear, and fear of what other people think, fear of rejection. And because of that, I have gone through some really rough things, So this whole book is my journey through fear, and it just happens to have been catalyzed by my journey as a Beachbody coach. I talk about that specifically in the book, but when I became a coach and I had to start reaching out, growing a team, I started to see the areas in my life that were really covered. I didn't know it was fear yet. I remember I didn't realize how much fear ruled my life until I went to my first summit. If you're not signed up for Summit, get signed up for Summit. I'm telling you. I went to my first summit, and here I was thinking I was finally going to be cool. And, I was a homeschool girl, so I never really felt like I fit in, and I was never a fitness person at all. And I went to my first summit thinking I was finally, hanging out with the cool crowd. And what I realized is there were a bunch of other moms just like me who went through huge struggles and overcame them. And I just remember breaking down in tears. Summer Tucker is my upline, one of my upline coaches, and I was at her training. I was breaking down in tears because of, I think that's when I really started to face my fears. And I walked out of that summit, and I remember it was in Las Vegas, and I was walking to the bus, and I messaged Summer. I said, my team name is Team Fearless. Don't let anyone else take it. I didn't know how we got team names back then. So that being said, I'm going to walk you through the stuff that I kind of had to go through and maybe tell a few stories here and there. in order to let go of the fear in my own life and to learn how to be confident as I went through my journey of becoming a coach and a leader and that whole breaking down to build back up. So let's start with, do you dare to dream? Before we can talk about fear, we have to talk about dreams, because many of us, when we're kids, we have these dreams. We watch our cartoons that have the happy ending, and we do dream. We dream about the happy ending. We can be anything we want. And I love this quote by Oprah: "The biggest adventure you can ever take is to live the life of your dreams." So my question to you tonight is, do you really dare to dream? Now, this is the first question I want you to write down. What is your perfect day? If you're going to think about your perfect day, what would it be? For me, my perfect day, Greg's been out to my house, so is Mike and Amanda, and I live out on a mountaintop, and my husband has a smoker, and he smokes the most amazing pork. So my perfect day is very simple. I just want my husband not to have to go to work. I want to stand out by that smoker. I want to be smoking pork. I want to be drinking beer, playing games with our kids, and inviting some friends over to have some meat. And we can afford to buy whatever meat we want, so we can invite as many friends as we want. But that's my perfect day. So what is your perfect day? Go write it out in detail. Now, if you were to dream big, the sky's the limit. There's no limits on you. What would your dream be? Write that question down as well. My dream is to raise my children with my husband and us do this stuff together, but I really want to be taking them on mission trips. I want to be teaching my kids how to affect change in others, and I want to make a difference. I want to give a TED Talk on living fearlessly because I'm so passionate about it. So what is your dream? The next question I want you to write down is, what is your lid? We all come from different backgrounds. And usually there's something in the way that we were raised or the mindset that we're raised in that puts a lid on us. So for me, for the longest time, my lid was, I was born and raised in a trailer house. I was always poor. My parents chose to be poor. It was a religious thing for them. Wanting to be rich was bad. So I always felt like I couldn't really go after money or else it was bad. I was homeschooled and really struggled with a lot of social stuff for the longest time. So I wasn't cool. So for me, that spoke a lot. And I'm going to talk some more about that. And I had a lot of fear. So I want you to think about, what are your I can'ts? Because when you think about your I can'ts, you're going to more than likely, you're going to find your lid. Also, you might want to write down the book, The 21 Laws of Leadership by John Z. Maxwell, because he even talks about the law of the lid and some stuff in that book. It's one of my favorites. And Greg, I see you. If I'm speaking too fast, just kind of, make a gesture or something. Let me know. So what do we need to do when we have a dream, we know what we want, and we just have to decide, am I willing to do what it takes to pursue this dream? And this is the question you're probably going to ask yourself after you've answered the rest of the questions. Because pursuing a dream is not easy. There's a lot of fears that we have to face. There's a lot of things we have to overcome. And for some people, it will be easier than it is for others. It depends on what you've been through, what your past has been, and what fears are, basically what's making that circle of your comfort zone. What is the border of your comfort zone, and what creates that, what fears create that. So it's time to talk about fears. I had fun making this. The first thing that we're going to talk about it's like the first section of my book is all about naming it. What is fear? Because we can't face our fears if we don't know what fear is and why we have it. So fear is, for all intents and purposes, a lack of safety and a fullness of the unknown. That's how Marina and I defined it. It just means that we don't know if we're safe. That's what fear is. And it was actually given to us as a gift. For instance, if we're not afraid to touch a hot stove because we might get hurt, well, then we might end up touching a hot stove, or to look both ways before we cross the street. We're supposed to have fear to a certain extent to keep us safe. So it is a lack of safety, but it's supposed to be a gift. But over the years, certain boundaries are created. As kids, we're fearless. We'll get up, we'll fall down, we'll get back up, and we'll run, and we'll keep moving and we'll keep going. But, if we fall down and we get really badly hurt, perhaps we learn, well, maybe I shouldn't run that fast. And over the years, those boundaries are created, which, your boundaries of your comfort zone, that is created by your fears. And some of them are healthy fears, but some of them are not healthy. Fear is in all of the interviews that we did on this, in this book, when we'd ask the ladies, it's a book for women, guys, I'm sorry, but it's still a good book. Hopefully you're welcome to read it and hopefully get something out of it. But when we were asking these women, some of them had been through really traumatic events, and some of them it's everyday fears. Because if it's fear to you, then it's real. And that's something that's important to remember. So fear is just a big what if. When I'd ask, can I get inside your head? What was happening at that moment? One of the girls that I interviewed had a stroke at 38 years old. She woke up 3 days before Christmas and couldn't move her arm, couldn't move her leg. When I asked her, can I get inside your head? What was going on at the time? She's like, what if I'll never walk again? What if I die? What if, and that was a recurring thing with almost every single person that we interviewed, was that question. What if? So I had to get this picture of Mike today, but what is real? Well, we have to understand, in order to understand fear, we have to, and in order to fight fear and to push through our fears, we have to understand fear. So first of all, there's real fear, which is a real lack of safety. You fall out of an airplane and you don't have a parachute on, you're probably going to die, more than likely. I think that there have been a few people who have survived. But if you go into battle, you know that you could be, you more than likely aren't going to be safe. And there's a chance that you might not come home. Anytime that you face something where there's a lack of safety or true lack of safety, then that is real fear. Like that's the real deal. Perceived fear is when we pursue situations to have that sense of fear. We want to feel something. So what do? We skydive out of a plane, but we have our parachute. So we can feel the same fear, but we're enjoying it. It's like being in a house and you're watching a really scary movie, as the ladies, and I don't know if the guys do this, but a lot of times we'll come under our blanket and the toe can't pop out because, something might get you if the toe pops out. And, but take that same situation, but we're okay. Take that same situation and there's actually, you hear someone in the house. It's terrifying, absolutely. But you're experiencing similar physiological responses. Only in one, you're safe, so you kind of put yourself in that situation, and the other one, you're not. So what are our top fears as coaches? Now, inviting, I've heard that a lot. Being real on social media, showing the real me, wondering what people will think when we start to do this stuff, not wanting to be salesy, failing. Why are we so afraid of those things? Now, this is the section where we're going to learn why we're so afraid of things such as inviting, why we're so afraid of things such as really going after our dream and really pursuing it with everything that we have and doing what it takes to get there. And this is where I get a little deep, so bear with me. First of all, especially with inviting, we're like, what if they say no? And that can speak mainly for women here. I hope that this kind of connects with guys as well. I have 9 sisters, so I know a lot about girls. And I have 1 husband, so obviously. Okay, so inviting. What if they say no? What if they get mad? What if they delete me? What if they block me? I know that I thought a lot of these things. I have a lot of coaches and a lot of women coaches, and they will ask me these, they'll when we have our deep conversations, our real conversations, they'll tell me that these are some of their main fears. Social media. What will people think? That's a big one. Being afraid to show the real me. What if they laugh? What if they mock me? What if they don't want to be my friend anymore? What if they block me? I can speak for my own life on this one. I remember, I was telling this to Greg earlier, I remember the very first time I ever shared a vulnerable post. I literally thought my heart was going to drop out of my chest. When no one liked it, within, I think, 5 to 10 minutes, I started crying and I called my husband. Because I really opened my heart. And over the years, I had built these walls so high around my heart, afraid to let people see the real me because I wasn't cool, because I was homeschooled and I did some stupid social things. And I had experienced, problems in the past. I had been rejected from friendships. And I was afraid that if I let people see who I really was, that they would reject me. And that was my biggest fear. That was my biggest fear for the longest time, was the fear of being rejected. So what if I fail? What if people think, what will people think if I fail? What if they think I'm worthless? What if I lose friends? What if? And then there's what if I succeed? What if I can't handle success? What if I fail because I can't handle it? And this is where I'm going to get into a little bit of deep stuff here. The answer lies in our root fears. The reason why we can't invite, the reason why we can't get past some of these barriers and these things that are keeping us from moving forward is because we have root fears that are created as we grow. So when I was researching my book, I remembered something. I'm a doula, and I heard something in my doula class where the midwife said that some babies, if they are born and they're put in a separate room, a lot of babies, if they're put in a separate room, they're not touched and they're not comforted and held, but they're just fed, that they will have failure to thrive. They're given all they need for their bodies, but they will not survive. So it made me question, why would that be the case? And I started researching on the internet, and I found this Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. And this has to do, these are the things that we need in order to survive and thrive as human beings. On the first level is the physiological needs. So that's just, everything we absolutely have to do in order to live. We need oxygen. We have to be able to breathe. We have to be able to eat. We have to have water. We have to be able to go to the bathroom. Like, if we can't do these things, we're going to die, hands down. The second level is safety and security. So that is, if we don't have these things, we could die, or we could be very unsafe. For instance, if you don't have a house, obviously winter comes, you might be in a lot of trouble. Clothing, security of body, so our morality, security of our bodies. And that's that more physical level of safety, not in the do or die, but, where, again, that's the second level of our needs. And it's very basic. We have to have clothes, we have to have a house. But it was the third level that got me. I had this huge jaw-dropping moment because I thought something was wrong with me until I saw this next level on Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, and it just started to open up so much for my understanding. And that's the need for love and belonging. So if you've ever asked yourself, what's wrong with me? Why do I need this person to care about me so much? Why do I feel so alone? What's wrong with me? Why do I even care? Why do I feel like I need to be part of that group? Why do I care if they kicked me out? Why do I care if I'm not cool? Why do I care if people don't like me? It's because we were created to need that. That's a very important part of us being able to not just survive, but to thrive in life. We can survive, but even babies might not even survive without that. And so when I learned this, it really opened my eyes, because I struggled so much with feelings of being, I'm going to see what my next slide is here. So I'm going to wait for I tell you the struggles that I had real quick. So this will explain why we're afraid to invite, why we're afraid to be real, why we're afraid of what others think, and why we're afraid of failing. These are our root fears. These are some of our root fears. Why are we afraid to invite? Because if they say no, are we rejected? Maybe we feel unlovable, unworthy of success. Maybe we don't feel like we're worthy of being successful, or we're worthy of being a leader. Or maybe we feel like we're not wanted. Maybe we're not getting enough recognition. Maybe we're not feeling accepted, or maybe we're not feeling good enough. I cannot tell you how many times in the last 2 years I have felt like I have just been broken down time after time. And, I love the way John C. Maxwell talks about God. He's like, I'm a pastor, I'll talk about God. He's like, I don't want to make you feel like you have to believe in God, but it's a part of who I am. And I have to say that for myself. It's a part of who I am. And there are so many times I was broken down where I would feel so completely unlovable, or I would feel rejected. And I would sit there and I'd go sit down to invite, and I was literally terrified. And it took me a while to realize that that's why I was terrified, because of this horrible fear of being rejected. If someone told me no, I absorbed it as they were rejecting me. They weren't rejecting the idea of being in a challenge group. And that's my story. But for you need to look at your own life and ask yourself, okay, what are the things that I'm afraid of? Is it rejection? Is it being unlovable or not being accepted? Is it being unworthy? Is it not belonging to a group? But to really search your heart and ask yourself those questions, because a lot of times when we can't pursue our dreams and we can't go after something, it's because we've put a lid on ourselves. I would spend so much of my day saying, you're ugly, you're fat, F you, I hate you, I wish you were never born. And now I think about that and I'm like, I would never speak to myself that way now. But I did that every single day, and I struggled. And if you're not struggling with this as a coach, you're probably going to be dealing with someone who has struggled with this. And if you get people on your team who have eating disorders or who have been through traumatic things, more than likely they're going to be struggling with this stuff. And that's why it's important to know that. And if you haven't, that is a huge blessing. And that's something that, definitely be thankful for. So we have these root fears that hold us back. So how do we fight it? How do we fight the fears? How do we fight the voices? And how do we actually dare to dream? And if you hear noises behind you guys, I have 6 children. I've told them to be quiet. But so bear with me. So the third section of the book is called Overcome It. This is how this book, the entire process I'm walking you through, the only part I researched was the Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, because the reason I'm writing a book is because I used to be the most afraid person I know, and now I'm not. And I wanted to be able to reach out my hand to someone who was also struggling and say, let me walk you through the process. So what I'm going to walk you through right now are the things that I did to overcome those voices, those negative voices that told me I can't, and to learn that I can. The 2 most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. Does your why make you cry? I'm sure that your coaches have talked to you about what your why is. You know, your why is that thing that's going to push you. Why am I doing this? Why do I not just quit? I'm so done. That why is going to get you through the hard days. Our why has to be strong enough to push us through the hard times, to help us get up when we just want to give up. So I want to ask you, what's your why? And I love this way of finding your why. I'm reading the book Intentional Living by John C. Maxwell. I love John C. Maxwell. I'm actually in a mentorship group with him, so I read a lot of his stuff. But Intentional Living, he asks these questions when he talks about your why. He says, what makes you cry? So think about in your life what makes you cry. What makes you sing? What makes you happy? Everything makes me sing, but what makes you sing? And what makes you dream? So he says, when you figure out what makes you cry, what makes you sing, and what makes you dream, he says, and you have your why. If your why is big enough, the how is so much easier. So before I move on to this next slide, I just want to share real quick about my why. There are many times I wanted to quit my business because I had a lot of drama I had to deal with my upline, and I had a lot of drama I had to deal with in my life as I was working through my own growth. When I was working through letting go of those fears of feeling unlovable and unworthy, and those fears of being rejected. The why that pushed me through is a couple of things. I've had several jobs in my life. I've worked in the corporate world a couple of different times, and I've had a couple of managers who were horrible. I mean, they really were not good people. And because of that, I had some great experiences. I had some amazing experiences. I had some bad experiences. And so I decided that I never wanted to work for another person again. I did not want anyone else to have power over me. And the other thing is wanting to spend every day. I love my husband greatly. And he and I, when we work together, I feel like we work magic. Magic happens. And wanting to bring him home from his job literally has pushed me through really, really hard times. So having that why will drive you. It is the only reason that I never gave up. And it's the reason why I keep pushing forward when I wished, I've been in this business now for 3 years. I hoped that I would have been one of those people in the business for 3 years and be a 6-figure earner. And I'm not. But you know what? I made more last year than I did the year before. And if I keep moving forward, I know it's going to happen because my why is going to keep me going. So that's the importance of knowing your why. So the second step is that whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. The power of mindset. By changing our mindset, we can literally change our lives. And guys, this is where the magic happened for me in my life. I had so many negative voices in my head. I was battling them all day long, and it was so tiring to constantly be speaking negativity towards myself. I reached a point where, so one of the things I ended up doing was I ended up cutting off communication with my upline, who also used to be one of my really good friends. And I had to block her, and I had to, had another friendship, 2 friendships. My biggest fear is rejection. So I have these 2 friendships that people I was really close to. I opened my heart to, I shared so much with. I opened those, I gave them the keys to my vulnerability. I mean, I shared everything with these ladies, and they, I don't want to say we weren't able to understand each other. Our personalities were so different, and I hadn't studied personalities yet, and neither had they. And because of that, we ended up not being friends anymore. And I literally was so depressed. I didn't want to get out of bed in the morning. My husband would have to coax me out of bed in the morning. I'd spend a lot of the day just, surviving. I maybe watched some movies to get through some of the day. And I was so very unhappy. And I allowed it to consume me. And my girlfriend, Carrie, I remember I was on the phone with her and I was crying over something that this one lady had said to me at a party that just made me feel like crap. And she's like, Michelle, why do you even care? Why do you care what these people think? Why do you allow them to steal your peace? Who cares? And I didn't want to care. The last thing I wanted to do was to care. I didn't want to care what people thought. And I remember there lying in bed one morning, not wanting to get out of bed. And I was thinking, do I want to go the rest of my life caring what people think so much that it's keeping me from wanting to even enjoy my life? And that morning I had, I remembered something that Summer Tucker said in one of her webinars for the team. And it was a key phrase in her life. And it's become a key one in mine. She said, if you want something different, you have to do something different. And I wanted something different. I was tired of being broken. I was very broken. I was tired of being broken. I didn't want to be a broken person. I wanted to be able to dream. I wanted to be able to feel like I was whole and not hate on myself every moment of the day. And so I remembered a book that a friend had told me about called The Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Meyer. And my husband at the time had started getting into personal development, Beachbody. They were always telling you read personal development. And I'm like, I don't want to read personal development. I want to read a romance novel. And so I kept putting it off, But my husband downloaded by Napoleon Hill a book called Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. And I'll never forget, we were, Otmar cleaning our house. Otmar is my landlord, and he's from Germany, and he loves things really clean. So when there's kid clean, there's daddy clean, there's mommy clean, and then there's Otmar clean. So we were basically sanitizing our house, and I was on the floor scrubbing the carpet. I'll never forget scrubbing the carpet, listening to Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude, and actively working. I wanted something different, so I actively worked at changing my mindset. I actively worked at stopping the conversations in my head. When I would have a conversation in my head that said, you are not worthy, you are not enough, I would shut it out, and I had this crazy go-to thought. And it's so, I look at it now, I'm like, it's so stupid. But I remember the first time thinking, I've got to stop this. And the first thing that popped into my head was, I'm like, I got to think about something else, was apple pie. I don't even eat pie, but it was a piece of apple pie. And so I'm like, okay, I can do this. And then I would go from apple pie to something else. And that's how I started stopping those conversations. But it's really finding that one thing that you can jump to really quickly to stop the conversation, because those conversations will consume us. We'll be driving down the road and we'll be happy when we get in the car. And then all of a sudden we'll start having a conversation with someone. We'll get to our destination and we will feel like, tearing something apart because we're so upset by the conversation we've just allowed ourselves to have in our head, and it's not even real. So we've got to stop the negative voices. So one of the things, two of the questions I want you to write down are, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? And I want you to answer that question before you answer the next question. And that is, if you were looking at someone else a lot like you, same characteristics, same, from on the outside, they look the same, but it's not you. Okay? It's someone else. What do you think about that person? And look at the difference between how we think about ourselves and how we think about other people, because there's a big difference there. My husband would get so mad at me. He'd be like, Michelle, you would never talk to someone else the way you talk to yourself. You would never be mean to one of your friends the way you are to yourself. So personal development is so important. There is not a top coach that does not read or has not read personal development. And it's not just in the coaching world. I'm realizing it as I'm reaching out to different friends who are higher in the corporate world. They also read personal development, because we graduate from high school or we graduate from college and we think, I'm done, I graduated, I don't have to learn anymore, other than maybe picking up some technical books here and there. But in order to change our beliefs, in order to grow, to change our mindset, to instill belief in ourselves, and to continue our education, we have to develop ourselves. We can't grow if we don't learn. We'll stay the same. You want something different, you have to do something different. Personal development is a non-negotiable. So these are some books for instilling belief, getting past your fears, a lot of it, and learning to calm those voices. The books that help me with that, like there's so many books I could tell you on leadership and on other things, but for getting past your fears, first of all, I would recommend a book called Let Go of the Fear by Michelle Hillaert with Dr. Mina Gilmore that's coming out on March 4th. Awesome stories in there. I give amazing stories in there. Success Through Positive Mental Attitude by Napoleon Hill. That, especially for you guys, that would be a great one for the guys. The Power of Vulnerability. Oh man, ladies and guys, you might be able to get something out of this. I would say get the audio version of this book. This book is fantastic. She's from Texas, and I love her accent. I'm actually from Texas, and when I'm on the phone with someone from Texas, my accent will sometimes come out, but I've been away from it for so long, I don't have it hardly anymore. But when she talks, I just love her because she reads it. It's as if she's in sessions as she does this book. But this, if you struggle with opening up and allowing people to see who you are on the inside, the real you, this is a good book. And also, if you open up too much, there are times when I was afraid to show certain parts of my heart, but the times that I would just go blah, and I would share everything, and then I would scare people off. It's a really good book for learning, those things, especially when it comes to sharing your heart, when to share, when to hold back. Rising Strong. Oh my gosh. This book might even be a really good one for guys. My book is for women, Let Go of the Fear. And I would say it's a very parallel book to Rising Strong. I would get them both. I mean, I just loved that book. 100% recommend it. And then You're Made for a God-Sized Dream by Holly Girth was awesome, because sometimes we don't feel worthy of dreaming. We don't feel like we can pursue that dream, but that was a really awesome book. So the question I want you to write down right now is, who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? Surround yourself with the dreamers and the doers, the believers and the thinkers, but most of all, surround yourself with those who see the greatness within you, even when you don't see it yourself. Something Brené Brown talks about, and I can't remember if it was in Rising Strong. I think she talks about it there, but she also has another book. And I can't think of the name of it offhand, but she talks about the fact that she keeps in her wallet a list of names. And this list of names are the list of people whose opinions matter. So when she gets upset or she gets angry or she feels hurt, she pulls out that list and she looks at it to remind herself who matters and who doesn't. So we have to ask ourselves, who can speak truth into our lives? And, in the book, I put it this way. The people who we open up our hearts and our life to, we need to have a circle of friends that are very close. And the people who we open up our hearts and our life to, they have to be like, Thor has his hammer. And in one of the latest movies that he was in, came in the Fantastic Five or something, nobody could hold his hammer. Everyone was trying to pick up his hammer and no one could do it. And finally, this one guy, a computer dude, came up and he was able to lift the hammer, and people knew he was worthy because only the worthy person could lift the hammer. It's the same with King Arthur and the sword. Only the worthy could pull the sword out of the stone. And that should be the same with our hearts and with the people who we allow to speak truth into our lives. Only the people who are worthy of that should be allowed to have that part in our lives. So the people who we surround ourselves with the most also should not be at the same level or lower than we are. Before I started going through this change, the people I hung out with, I was exactly like them. And I'm not happy with where I was at, But now the people I surround myself with, I consider Greg and Mike and the people I've met through the DC Council and the people I've met on my team that are constantly learning and growing themselves. These are the people that I allow to speak truth in my life, and these are the people that I surround myself with on a regular basis. And my life has continued to grow. And I have begun to really, I've come to a point where I really, truly do believe in myself, because I surround myself with dreamers and doers, believers and thinkers. So one little thing I want to talk about real quick is the power of forgiveness. This is not a religious thing. This is a matter of understanding what forgiveness is and why it's important to have it. These fears that we have, these root fears, the fear of rejection, of being unlovable, of being, they're often, for many of us, they're deep. And I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I believe it's 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 women have been sexually abused. That doesn't include the men and women who have been abused in that way, or physically, emotionally. And those things are very often the things that end up leaving us with this sense of not being worthy, because we haven't been respected. So we're not worthy. And so what we need to do is, in order to let go of these fears, we have to forgive whoever it is or whatever it is that to cause those deep fear and those roots. So what is forgiveness? It's just to stop feeling angry or resentful. You're not giving anything to anybody except for yourself. You're just letting go. You're saying, I'm not going to let this take my peace anymore. Because when we allow stuff to take or hurt us, we're giving it precedence in our life and saying, you're still part of my life because I'm going to hold on to you. Say, no, get rid of it. Forgiving is completely for that other person. So I do want to challenge you to write down, I didn't put this in here, but I do want to challenge you to write down the names of the people in your life who have maybe caused hurt, and make an act of forgiving them. My sister went through some really horrific things, and I'm going to try to hurry it up here, Greg. My sister went through some really horrific things, and I asked her, I was like, Mary Beth, how can you forgive him? How can you be so peaceful? And like, well, in the Bible, when Jesus says that we need to forgive 70 times, 7 times, she says, it finally dawned on me that Jesus wasn't asking us, and again, like, I'm not here, I'm talking what my sister said. She says, Jesus didn't ask us to forgive 70 times, 7 times, period. We are meant to forgive each instance of a wrong 70 times, 7 times, which means we're training ourselves to let go. So that friend who completely blocked me out of her life, when that would come to my mind, I would just have to say, I forgive you. I forgive you. Every single time it came to my mind. And then it gets easier and easier, just like your workouts. It gets easier and easier. And I'm not going to let this get to me anymore. And it also helps control those conversations in the head. So we only have 3 more fears to face. I'm going to go through them real quick. The fear of change. This other crap. We have to realize that we're going to have to do something different and get out of our comfort zone. So we're used to watching our movies at night. We're used to doing all the things that we like to do that make us comfortable. If we're going to pursue our dream, we're going to have to change. So write down what changes scare you the most. And you can answer that question later. The second one is the fear of sacrifice. The fear of giving up the things that keep us comfortable. So that would be, for me, I have my Netflix shows. I hardly ever watch TV. I used to watch it all the time. In my fitness journey, I had to give up cookie dough, which I absolutely love cookie dough. And for my business journey, I limit myself on my alcohol intake. And certain nights I don't even have it because it limits my ability to really focus. So we have to look at our lives and figure out what are the sacrifices, and this is the question to write down, What are the sacrifices you will have to make in order to achieve your dream? And then the third one is the fear of failure. What if I fall? I love that quote. But oh, darling, what if you fly? Why are we afraid? Why are you afraid to fail? Write that question down. Because we have to know, and we have to search our own hearts, because it's different for each of us. So the game I want you to play with yourself, with the fear of failure, fear of change, and fear of sacrifice, is what's the worst that can happen? Because this is where the real and the perceived fears come in when we're making a decision to go after a dream. So if you send out that invite, what's the worst that can happen? They could say no. Okay, well, what's the worst can happen? Well, maybe they block you on Facebook. Well, if they block you on Facebook, is that really the worst thing that can happen? You know, in my opinion, no. If they block you on Facebook because you sent out an invitation to change their life, well, you know. But that game right there will help you work through so many fears, because you're working through, is this something I really need to be afraid of? Am I really not safe here? And you can that question and then answer it. So one more fear to talk about, the fear of success. You notice how no longer is it a jar with a lid on top of it, but she has the jar on top of her. I laughed when Marina mentioned the fear of success. I'm like, that's not a big thing. That doesn't really happen. And then as I was writing my book, I noticed more and more how I was sabotaging myself. And I wasn't following up with certain people, and I wasn't doing things. And it became very clear to me that I was terrified that if I did become successful, I wouldn't be able to handle it. I really had to work through that. So think, how have you ever sabotaged your own success, and what are you actually afraid of? Finally, allow yourself to fail forward. There's a book called Failing Forward by John C. Maxwell. I do believe it's available on YouTube for free. It is amazing. Failing is not bad. Never give up on your dreams. So in order to live fearlessly, name your fears. Know, accept it. Okay? My biggest fear used to be my fear of rejection. Even a year ago, 6 months ago, I might have said it was my fear of rejection. That is no longer my biggest fear, because I have named it, I have claimed it, and I've worked hard to overcome it. So that's what I want to challenge you. I think is it Confucius said, I don't know, who was it that said know yourself, or Socrates? Someone said know yourself. I need to look that up. But if we know ourselves, the fears, the things that hold us back, the things that make us work harder, what's going to make us work harder for our dream, our why, if we know ourselves, then we can pretty much get through anything. We can work through anything. So that is how you can live fearlessly. And it's a constant walk. Letting go of the fear is a constant journey. But if you know how through your fears, then you can live fearlessly, because if you decide not to do something, it's not going to be because of fear. It's because you decided that it wasn't worth it. So, any questions?
Great. Thank you, Michelle. If anybody has any questions, just take yourself off mute, and we can ask Michelle a few more questions before we end the meeting.
That's much. Dig too deep. Did I throw too much at you?
What was that? Anyone?
I have a quick question. Can we go back to the fear of success slide? I think it was about the third to last slide. I missed the question that was on that one.
Yeah, that was, have you ever sabotaged your own success? And if you have, what are you actually?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And yeah, no, and what I want to challenge you guys on is during your PD time or your reflection time is to answer those questions, so you can kind of see what that's been holding you back, and learn how to battle them. For some of us, it'll be really deep. For some of us, it won't be as deep. But if you get those answers, or Greg's going to let you know how you want to figure out how you're going to do the drawing for the book.
Yeah. So, Michelle, did we tell them about the prize or yet? You know what I mean?
I didn't know about it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. 1 in 6 men. Yes, the world is very broken. The world is very broken, which is why this book I'm so excited about, because it is, along with Dr. Marina Gilmore, who's a friend of mine, we both have been through some things, and together we decided, you know what, it's time to share. So the book comes out on March 4th, and I told Greg I'd love to give a signed copy away to anyone who, on the call, fills out the answers your questions, and let Greg know, and maybe just let him know when you answer your questions. It'll be on the honor system, so that because I know you might not want to share what you're writing down, but on the honor system, let him know when you filled out the questions and when you've occurred for a drawing to win the book, and it comes out on March 4th. He'll send me your name and your address, and when the book gets here, I'll send you a signed copy.
Yeah, I'll make a post in our Engage group, and everybody can comment on that when you've done the homework assignments. So, and then we'll do.
Did she say a drawing?
It'll be a drawing, and we'll just pick somebody at random, and then Michelle will send you her new book when it comes out. So if you would like a copy and you would like to do the homework, then you can comment on that post.
I have a question, Michelle. When you went through this whole entire process, because this is definitely something I needed tonight, how did you implement it into growing your business and becoming more successful out of there? Like, what were some of the things that you took from it? Because this is definitely something that is true to me.
Because I would say it's hard to instill belief in other people when we don't believe in ourselves. So the more that I learned how to believe in myself, the more that I learned to grow. I learned to, because of my fear of rejection, maybe people would try to speak truth into my life before, and I'd get really defensive. Well, I learned how to allow people to speak truth into my life and not jump at it, because I wasn't, it's like a wild dog in a corner, and you want to go tell the dog it's gonna be okay, who's been hurt, and it's gonna yip at you because it's been hurt. So it's working at those feelings and getting better at that, at learning how to deal with that we become a better person. Then we have belief in ourselves, and when we reach out to other people, we're not afraid to invite. I'm not afraid to invite anymore. I'm not afraid to reach out to someone because I know it makes a difference. I can work with my coaches, and I can instill belief in my coaches because I believe in myself. And when they're struggling, a lot of my coaches, they are going through things themselves. I can extend my hand and say, hey, listen, I've been there. Let me walk with you. How can I be there for you? How can I help you? And really, honestly, the personal development changed my life because I'm constantly learning and growing. And the Brene Brown and John C. Maxwell, I cannot get enough of them.
And John C. Maxwell, is he the one that sends out, like, I follow him, I think, is he the one that sends out, like, the words of the day?
I think he does do words of the day. His latest book is called Intentional Living. Okay. I would 100% recommend that to anyone who is struggling with trying to get your power hour in and be intentional with your life. It is a fantastic book. It is one of my favorites out of his. That one and the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I didn't know how to be a leader. I'm the middle out of 10 girls. All my life, I was told, what to do. And I struggled. I was like, I don't know how to lead. I don't know how to lead. I don't know how to lead. Well, stuff like this helped instill belief in me in learning how to lead. But it's baby steps. And it's not getting upset with ourselves and not throwing in the towel. It's knowing it's okay to fail. It's okay to fall. Just get back up and move forward. Because the only thing is, if you stop, and if you quit, then you're never going to get anywhere if we're constantly quitting. But if we fall and we keep taking those little steps, eventually it's like a baby. You know, a baby first kind of pushes themselves up and eventually gets to the point where they can sit, and then they can pull to standing, and then they can take that first walk, but they fall a million times in between. They don't just get up and run. And that's the same thing in this business. We just have to take it one step at a time, one day at a time. We fall down, we get back up. It hurts sometimes. I have a success partner. If you don't have a success partner, find a success partner. We have cried over Zoom so many times as we've been broken down and built back up, you know? So I would suggest that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We good? Yeah, Debbie. You know, Darren Hardy also has one, just in case you didn't know. He has a thing of the day that he sends that's really awesome.
Hey, Michelle. Where am I? Somebody asked how they can get your book. Is it going to be on Amazon or?
It should be on Amazon. Luckily, my writing partner is, this is why we're doing this together. She's absolutely amazing, but she owns a publishing company, so she's taking care of all the details. But it will eventually be on Amazon, and Greg will have the information on that as well. I mean, you can definitely go to michellehillaert.com. That's my, it's not my business website for the fitness. It's my, I don't know, I'm running for Mrs. Virginia, so it's kind of got some of that stuff on there. But I do have a link to get on a mailing list. If you go to michellehillaert.com, you click on that link, you can get on a mailing list to be updated when the book comes out as well. So, and so you see my name up there. My name is so difficult to write, but I'll write it in here too. Because most people misspell it. It's the AE versus the EA.
Yeah. You can blame Trent for that, right?
Hey, but you know what's really funny, real quick? When I used to be Michelle Weber, and when I got married and I got the name Michelle Hillaert, I knew I took a step up because I said, someday I could be an author. I can be a great singer. I never really thought I'd be an author, but now I get to be an author with the name Hillaert. I like it.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Michelle. We'll let you go. But
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, a lot of great information, and I will get this recording up. If anybody missed it or wants to listen to it again, I'll post it in the group. All right. All right. Thanks, guys.